just water. I promise, it's just water. I can't always be drinking alcohol. Sometimes I have to hydrate. You know how it is. So it's just water this time. I swear. It's just water. It's just water. I'm telling you. Look, see, it's just water. See, it's just water. I'm telling you, it's just water, guys. It's just water. It's water. It's just water. I'm serious. It's just water. Come on, guys. It's water.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, a seat in the front row. You all remembered my hearing issue. You're such sweethearts.
So, complete spoilers for Miraculous Season 4 and 5. In today's world of fast media and quick rebuttals, liars are kings. Quick content sells and is evaluated and questioned less than media that sinks to your belly and lingers. Things are made to pacify and move you from one piece of content to another. Art is not art, it is content meant for consumption. And you right now are thinking of all the many liars and con people who have taken advantage of the rapid way we produce content. It is more important now, more than ever, to understand liars, to understand characters like Lila Rossi. So this video is going to be a little awkward to go over, as Lila is a side character of sorts in Miraculous, and not one that is always present, or whose presence are always felt. Sometimes she is just not there for a long time before, surprise, she is back. So while it is important to understand the basic dynamics of Miraculous, Marinette is Ladybug, Adrian is Cat Noir, they have a romantic interest in each other, and they don't have a romantic interest in each other. While they fight Gabriel, who is Hawkmoth and also Adrian's dad, Lila, and discussing Lila means I have to bring up a bunch of more characters that I have only tangentially mentioned in previous videos, if I mentioned at all. So I will try to keep you updated on who is who, which will lead to some repeating myself from previous videos.
You're a liar. You're so
Lila Rossi is a liar, and that is the only thing we know for certain about her. Scratch that. We know she is a terribly convincing liar. Not that her lies are consistent or well told, but these lies are difficult to disprove and awkward to question. As Marinette realizes herself trying to go against her, her lies not being consistent or well told are important to understand, because it is a sticking point for most of the fandom's dislike of Lila, because they do not think she is a believable liar. This is the general concept I will have to tackle in this video, because despite the many different takes on Lila, most of them from this content. So first I will go over why Lila is written this way and the fandom's disconnection from that. Next I will talk about how people use Lila as a reason to attack other characters they do not like, and why they are wrong to do so based on some information they may have missed. And finally, I will explain why you would indeed believe Lila's lies. Spoilers for all of Miraculous here are largely unavoidable due to Lila's continually increasing importance throughout the show. Lila Rossi, that is what I am calling her, is, well...
You don't need to be jealous anymore.
I should have said something sooner, but Marinette's right. Lila's a pathological liar, and a talented one at that. She always manages to lie her way out of trouble.
Aww.
And this is half true, I think. My psychology is not great. my psychological knowledge is not great. But I think that in general, pathologic liars are in large harmless to strangers and more harmful to themselves because of their inability to lie. They are normally really easy to spot out as liars because they compulsively lie even when it is obvious that they are lying. So after checking the DSM-5, pathologic lying is not really something covered in there. It could be a result of a conduct disorder, which is kind of fishy to me, looking at conduct disorder just briefly, but I'll go with it right now. I'm not a psychologist. And, or antisocial personality disorder, which would be more in tone to sociopathy or psychopathy. That's the other word for it. So I don't think that I'm completely wrong. This is normally some sort of impulse or self-preserving instinct. Impulsive in the case of conduct, which we see with Lila, and self-preserving, which we also see with Lila. So it's possible that the writers just don't know, or the writers don't care, or the writers really didn't find either suitable for this character, so they kind of went with both. Which is possible technically. Psychology is not fixed, and psychological issues and mental health is difficult to define, which is what people have problems with the DSM-5 with, but we're not really on topic anymore, so let's get back to topic. See, while Lila definitely has a compulsion towards lying, she also has a really, really strong desire to not be caught, and always tries to structure even her most insane lies with methods of avoiding being called out or suspicious ends of being a liar. It's not just outlandish lies, but it's outlandish lies other people want to believe and are difficult to really disprove if you get down to it. Others have called her a sociopath, and I'm still hesitant to use those words. I'm honestly hesitant to use pathological liar. Lila attributes the common idea of sociopathy, though, in her self-centered attitude. Nothing she does is with consideration or thoughts of the feelings of others. Lila herself as a character, though, is difficult to nail down. This is also largely due to her not wanting to be found out. We as an audience know very little about Lila, even now. Who she is, what she wants, why she wants it, are all things that we have general guesses at, but no certainty. We know she wants a relationship of sort with Adrian and or the Agrest family, but for what reason, we do not know. Lila largely comes out of nowhere at the end of Season 1 and instantly starts causing problems for Marinette and Adrian. Lila has 4 relationships worth understanding to try and get at when going over what happens in her relevant episodes. Those being relationships with Adrian, Marinette, Chloe, hi Chloe, and Gabriel. All 4 of these characters figure out Lila's true nature. With Adrian and Marinette, Lila has the problem of both these characters disliking the lying Lila does and wanting her to stop lying. Meanwhile, Gabriel and Chloe think they can use Lila's natural talent in lying to others to their own advantage, in one way or the other. It is worth noting, though, that in their first meeting, Marinette largely is jealous of Lila and dislikes her lies. Thus, Marinette's former and sometimes current jealousy often clouds Marinette's judgment, and this is not unknown to the others around her, and does happen in other circumstances with Lila. The final thing to know about Lila is that her personality that she gives off is that of someone who wants and largely tries to help and make a positive impact on others and the world. She claims to be a model, actress, and activist who suffers from a malady of illnesses and allergies, and thus sometimes requires others' help. Largely, Marinette's classmates and adults fall for this, and yes, it is largely Marinette's classmates that the fandom really gets mad at for believing in Lila's lies. Alia is Marinette's best friend and companion throughout most of Miraculous, but Alia still has her own problems, relationships, and personalities. This can lead her to be of great help to Marinette, or even showing her commitment to Marinette by showing her dropping her life to help Marinette. This can also lead into conflict between Alia and Marinette, and while Alia and Marinette haven't directly fought yet, though akumatization could make the implication that they have had opposing goals since Season 1. Alia aspires to be a reporter, and being young and good with tech, she has multiple blogs she updates and posts news on. She has gotten quite good at investigating, shooting news from her phone camera, and has developed a desire for getting the truth at the heart of a story, which includes, unfortunately for Marinette, figuring out Ladybug's true identity. In doing so, we see a few flaws from Alia emerge. First, an impulse on her first idea being the right idea, when she thinks Chloe is Ladybug, based off some poor evidence she finds. Second, being a desire to prove or find out what she is looking for, even if the information could or would be harmful, both of which she learns to temper from both Lady Wi-Fi and the Sapodies episodes. These problems do not just go away, though rather they change and morph as she tries to handle them. This is the case with most of the characters in Miraculous. Their problems constantly need to be addressed in different ways. The incident with Chloe shows and teaches the importance of checking and double-checking your sources of evidence and information to Alia, but it does not make her immune to misinformation or lies. It presents it convincingly to her. Enter Lila, and the main thing people have a problem with Alia in the show, that are not at least entirely based on Alia's race. This fandom. That being that Alia trusts and develops a friendship with Lila.
You're a liar. You're so on fire.
So to put it simply, what is wrong with Lila is that people do not like how she is introduced. Lila is a liar, but she's not a hidden liar, nor was she ever meant to be a hidden liar. Lila is the liar that you know is a liar, but nobody else seems to notice or want to notice their lies. This creates some difficulties for the character that I do not think the show always succeeds on the feel of. What I'm trying to get at across here is that Lila is instantly shown and clearly shown to be a liar who you and Marinette know instantly is a liar. Her lies to you, the viewer, seem apparent and obvious, but to everyone else seem sensible or sympathetic. The result is the lies we hear often from Lila do not sound good and lead to frustration in the viewer, because why would anyone believe this? This creates a problem with the dramatic irony of Miraculous. Okay, quick vocab time, and I'm sorry if some of you know this, but dramatic irony, instead of being the same as irony of a situation, or situational irony, I might be wrong on this definition there, is when a character does not know something the audience knows. That's dramatic irony. Miraculous is a great example of dramatic irony in multiple forms, and I feel that any author interested in using dramatic irony in their stories should really examine how Miraculous uses it. Like, an example of dramatic irony done well in Miraculous is the love square, which exists because Marinette loves Adrien, but does not know he is Cat Noir, and Adrien loves Ladybug, but does not know she is Marinette. Despite this irony being used well, the large reason a portion of the fandom hates the love square is because of the dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is a literary tool that does have to be used carefully, or not at all, or at least not for long, because most audiences really hate it. The great thing about dramatic irony is that it causes tension for your audience. They know something that the characters don't. But the problem is that it causes tension for your audience, because the audience knows something that the characters don't. Even if it works, even if it makes sense for the characters to not know or even know the information that is constantly hammered in why the characters act a certain way or hide something from others, there will be audience members who will feel the characters should not act that way, or be uncomfortable that the characters act that way. There are a lot of potential reasons for why this happens, but personally, I think it's due to people relating to and seeing themselves in other characters, making them upset when those characters or those characters' friends, do not act like they feel they should act. This leads to the type of misunderstanding and dislike of the dramatic irony Lila sets up and uses, which is different from other forms of dramatic irony. Marinette and Adrian learn and figure out that Lila is a liar. Chloe and Gabriel do too, but that is different. But nobody else knows that Lila is a liar or thinks of her as a liar. This creates a dramatic irony in which the main characters have the same knowledge as the viewer, but nobody else does. It's a cool idea. It puts the characters in the same situation as the viewer. The only difference is that the characters handle this better than the audience does. At least in this case.
You're a liar. You're so on fire.
What the fandom does not understand is that the reason for Lila's existence and her reasoning for being a liar in the show, and it has to do with the show being for children. Lila's intended point is not to be a sneaky liar setting up Machiavellian plots under the main character's nose. Lila is the person you know is a liar but nobody else notices. The importance of this message is easily missed, but it's still important. We live more and more in the misinformation age, in an age where it is getting increasingly difficult to know what the truth of a situation is. Children are growing up in a time in which most, if not everyone they know, probably believes in something that is clearly not true. Liars are everywhere and are profiting more and more as information becomes more and more exaggerated and lies more profitable. It is necessary to understand how to deal with your friend believing in something, or more likely someone's lies. This view changes the perspective and understanding of all of Lila's episodes. In Volpina, Marionette learns you cannot just out someone who you think is a liar to your friends. You look like a jerk doing this, and need to show compassion as much as it stings to do so, at least for your friends you need to. Alien is about not letting yourself be controlled by your temper and keeping your cool even when somebody else is acting poorly. Oni-chan for Marinette is about trusting Adrian, or trusting your friends who know the Addy person is toxic, to handle this situation well and not having to babysit your friends. While Adrian learns that some people are just truly trying and willing to hurt someone they hate. And it is just better to not really trust or even be friends with these people. In the episode called Ladybug in the show Miraculous Ladybug, Marinette learns that getting upset for others, believing in the lies of others, just causes problems. That it's better to be patient with them than quick to judge. She still gives Cat Noir crap for it, but does show patience and thinks of a plan instead of losing her cool like she did earlier and play into Lila's trap. Revelation is about how Lila really is a big-time liar, and you should probably check your damn sources. So then, why in the universe do people believe in Lila? Lila tells pretty lies, as she puts it.
I only tell people what they want to hear. It's called lying. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. People can't resist when they hear what they like to hear.
It is hard to convince people that what they want to hear is false because they already want to believe it. Lila presents herself also as a person who does a lot of good with their fame and wealth. They are the type of person you want to see exist, that you want to believe exist. She also presents herself as weak, as unable to do many things and suffering from a lot of ailments, and presents this in a way in which other people will want to help her. It's the type of lies many kind people want to believe because they want to help people. Further disproving these lies starts you at a further disadvantage, as you look like the bad guy, the person who is picking on someone who has enough problems already and is just trying to help others. The meaning here is simple. People prefer beautiful lies to an ugly truth. The result is that Marinette and Adrian often find themselves going against Lila on their own, as very little people realize how cruel she is. However, it is important to notice that Marinette and Adrian do not blame their friends for believing in Lila's lies. Despite what the fandom wants, this is another important lesson that there is no point in blaming your friends for believing these lies, but there is plenty of reason to blame the liar. Be mad at Lila for telling these lies and hurting others. People believe lies. It happens. They believe in liars that tell them beautiful things that could never be true, over painful things that are obviously true. Despite this being the intent of Lila and what her character is trying to get across, the fandom hates the characters that believe in Lila. Alia, who cares about the truth and wanting to report on what is really going on in the world, she seems like the type of person who would instantly clock Lila as a liar. But she isn't. She is the opposite, the perfect prey for Lila. Alia wants to believe in a good story, in the good of people around her. She cares about people, good people who act in the face of evil. Lila sells being this person, and Alia cannot find any reason Lila is evil. This further is encouraged in what Alia has learned, which is extensive proof, or at least direct proof, is needed before you jump to conclusions. Finally, that digging for deep information about people who clearly want to keep their secret is invasive. And while this is a good thing in general, it is different when confronted by someone like Lila, whose secret she wants to keep is that she is a liar and she has never told you the truth. Now I can hear you out there in the comments typing away, well, Alia had proof that Lila was a liar in Season 4 when she learned that Marinette was Ladybug. Yes, I know that you are thinking that Lila told Alia she was friends with Ladybug and Volpina, and now that Alia learned that Marinette is Ladybug, that is obviously a lie, because Marinette is not friends with Lila. This is a common thought in the fandom, but it is wrong! Lila never tells Alia that she is friends with Ladybug. What Lila tells Alia and Volpina is...
Oh, she even gave me an exclusive interview for the Lady Blog, because Ladybug saved her life once. Watch!
that she was rescued by Ladybug, not that she is friends with Ladybugs. Despite this, Alia gets a lot of shit for trusting Lila and not believing Marinette when she says Lila is a liar. This is even though when Marinette first meets and accuses Lila of being a liar, is in part because Lila is a liar, and it is in part because Marinette is jealous of Lila. Thus, we see the problem of the dramatic irony coming into play here. From Alia's perspective, Marinette has gotten jealous of kind and sweet Lila. Baselessly accuses Lila of being a liar constantly. She doesn't support Marinette going after Lila, but she doesn't actively try to stop Marinette from going after Lila. She never gets actively in the way. She tries to talk Marinette out of it more than force Marinette out of it. This is not what the fandom largely wants to see here. As Lila's poor lies pile up, we want to see Lila get found out by more and more people, not to be trusted and believed in. Lila becomes more and more frustrating to the audience because of this, but so does Alia for believing in her. From here, it becomes easier to make Alia a villain in the eyes of the fandom, more than Lila, because Alia is supposed to be on our side, or if the viewer is self-aware enough, on Marinette's side, making it so when Alia ever disbelieves in Marinette, she is violating the trust that the audience has with her, while we have no trust in Lila. It makes it easier for us to hate Alia for this. This is how and why Alia gets so much hate from the fandom, or at least it's part of the reason. There are other reasons that I will not be going into because I'm not well versed in those areas. Alia does not deserve any of this hate for any reason, though.
You're a liar. You're so long fire.
It's just water. I'm telling you, it's just water. Like, I mean, I couldn't even drink all this alcohol. It has to just be water. Like, it's water. I keep my water in my vodka bottle. It helps it keep cooler. That's all I'm saying. It really helps the water cold. You know, like, I definitely couldn't drink all of this, and you shouldn't drink this much. It's just water. It's just water. There's no way I would actually try to drink this much vodka. It's just water. It's just water, guys. It's just... In J. Hendrick's book, Thank You for Arguing, 3rd edition, Hendrick argues that rhetoric is woefully undertaught and that by teaching rhetoric techniques, we can make it so that people are more resistant to propaganda and the quick scale. He thinks that students of rhetoric will get rid of tribal politics and create a smarter, more democratic public. This leads to Hendrik championing the morality and importance of rhetoric to an absurd degree, to the point of arguing that rhetoric is unable to do harm, as good rhetoric ensures that both people in a conversation are happy in the end. Hendrik argues this using strongly upper middle class understanding of the world, though, through a story in which he buys a car that ends up being a lemon, and is fine with this because the salesman who got him to buy the car seduced him with the sales rhetoric and a visit to P.T. Barnum's grave, which he enjoyed that visit. It is worth pointing out and re-emphasizing Hendrik's class as at the least upper middle class, because his forgetfulness on this importance damages the credibility on his argument on the harm of rhetoric, because for him, the purchase of the car did not financially hurt him in the long run, and visiting P.T. Barnum's grave was fun, but for anyone else, such a purchase can and would be financially devastating. Further, it adds question to Hendrik's argument that rather learning rhetoric will protect you from quick sales or other rhetorical tricks. While he does argue for resistance, not immunity, it does still lead to a questioning of whether resistance will even be enough or granted. My point is that rhetoric is powerful, and that is the tool a character like Lila uses to convince everyone around her of what she wants them to believe. The only reason that you as a viewer are not convinced by her is we know and see Marinette's perspective, making a lot of Lila's ability to present a convincing argument impossible. So let's get an understanding of how rhetoric works then. There are 3 pillars to rhetoric, according to Aristotle, that are still agreed on vaguely today. Logos, argument by logic; pathos, argument by emotion; and ethos, argument by ethics. I'm only going to be giving a very bare bones look at rhetoric here. If you want more, go to Philosophy Tube. I think Abigail has some videos on at least some of these methods of argument. Now, here's the thing. There are rules for how to properly use these pillars, but I'm going to tell you how to break some of those rules. Instead, I'm going to go into some of the more darker side of rhetoric. See, people assume that in the general rules of rhetoric, a person will be truthful and logical, as there are more effective ways of convincing others in the long term. Because if you get found out for lying, anything you have said in the past is in jeopardy, and you may never be trusted again. The assumption, though, is wrong here. People will not always be truthful, and there are a large number of reasons for that, but the important ones for our purposes in understanding Lila are they, 1, don't plan or think about getting caught; 2, what they want can't be attained by being truthful; and 3, they get far more from being dishonest than they would from being honest. Lila uses dishonesty for all these reasons and includes dishonesty in all her logos, ethos, and pathos argumentation. Arguments from ethos in our society right now are probably the most common lies we see. Arguments from ethos are arguments of presentation. They are arguments of our own ethics or credentials in showing you will be truthful or are trustworthy in what you are presenting. This does not mean you have to be a researcher when talking about something that requires research to prove, but you do need to show that you are honest by providing your sources to others. Ethos does not always have to be so rigorous, though. For example, you hopefully trust me due to my previous videos being well done and my current video being well presented and structured in a way that makes it clear that I know what I'm saying. Lila corrupts this almost from the beginning by setting herself up as a celebrity with fame and power, and someone who uses that power to help others and the environment. She sets herself up as a dubious authority, as someone who is worldly and has traveled and seen a lot. Even if her lies, she's not so worldly as she presents, are believed, she really does not have any knowledge or understanding of whatever she is talking about just because she has traveled. but she is assumed to because she has seen and done a lot. This is why someone like Max even believes Lila saying that a napkin could have taken out her eye.
Ow! Once when I was in India, I witnessed someone getting their eye gouged out by a corner of a napkin. If I hadn't caught it, this napkin could have injured Max. I didn't have a choice. Ow!
Lila, you saved my eye! You sacrificed yourself for me.
It makes no logical sense, but this is not an argument based on logic, but based on Lila's made-up experience. And you know what? I was never in India. I don't know what type of napkins they have there, or how hard they can be thrown. Maybe she's right. Who knows? I mean, she isn't right, but trying to out-logic her there is missing the point of her argument. It is not, nor does it have to be logical here. Arguments from Pathos are more commonly known. The speaker is given the benefit of the doubt that their argument they make for emotion is based on the truth. This is an important part of ethos in Pathos. These arguments are normally stories from your personal experience or from another's personal experience, meant to pull at heartstrings and make someone feel something to get them to side with you. This could be joy, nostalgia, anger, even a sense of belonging. Some may see this as a scummy way to convince others because emotions are not logical. This is a poor way of understanding Pathos, though. We are emotional beings. It is necessary to remind your audience of their emotions when presenting your arguments to them. However, it is very easy to use Pathos to lead and manipulate your audience into ludicrous beliefs. This is the argument Lila makes whenever she talks about her injuries or sickness. It's why when fans get confused as to anyone would believe her sickness or what she claims to have in the episode Ladybug.
Because of this rare disease, sometimes I can't control things I say. I'm really sorry, Marinette.
Thank you for your confession, Lila. It's very moving. Marinette, you will of course be allowed back in school tomorrow.
Is not a confession of being a pathological liar. Again, this lie does not need to make sense. It just has to make all the adults in the room feel sorry for her, so they do not punish her for her actions. Finally, arguments from logos or logic are assumed to always be logical and not use any sort of logical fallacies when presented. This, however, can be detrimental to what one wants to convince or persuade their audience of, especially if their goal seems illogical in the first place. Thus, it is more important for logos to be persuasive than it is to be logical. Often, logos just needs to give an appearance of logic in order for it to be effective in persuasion. For example, in Illusion, Lila needs to convince Miss Bustier to allow her to run against Marinette for class rep.
If you wanted to be class rep, you should have run in the election.
Oh, that's right. I wasn't here on that day. When you think about it, it wasn't exactly democratic to hold the elections in my absence.
But her logic is wrong if examined. But it does not have to be good. It just has to seem good enough for people to not question it, and her pathos and ethos will carry the rest. Again, her argument from both ethos and pathos failed to persuade the audience because we know that there is nothing behind them. Thus, the bad logic is obvious and apparent to us the second Lila is done talking. But she does not need to, nor care to convince us. Many people won't buy this. People will think, well, it's not a logical argument, and it's outlandish and strange and weird, so it doesn't make any sense for people to believe in Lila. So it's worth presenting an example of how easy it is to trick someone with rhetoric. So to show this, I lied. Earlier I mentioned how Lila never told Alia she was close friends with Ladybug, and she did tell Alia she was rescued by Ladybug. What I left out was Lila also told Alia,
Ladybug and me, we're like this. Liar.
Further, I left out this scene in Chameleon, in which Alia directly tells Marinette what she needs to do to prove Lila is a liar.
A good reporter always verifies her sources. Can you prove she doesn't actually know Ladybug?
This is what leads the fandom to get, in part, so fed up up with Alia, because Marinette seems to meet those standards when she reveals that she is Ladybug to Alia, yet Alia still trusts Lila. It seems to me to be a continuity error, something the writers might have remembered they did but choose to ignore because it screwed up the story they wanted to tell, with Alia and Lila. While this is unfortunate, I do not think it is a good reason for fandom hate directed at Alia, and I think there are clearly other cultural factors for why portions of the fandom are so quick to hate Alia. But let's look further at how I got away with this lie. First, my argument from Ethos both backed my argument from Logos in the clip I showed. I used the clip to show that I am paying attention to the show, that I have even watched the episode in reference. I know the scene I'm talking about. Further, it proves my logic, which is not even bad logic, but simply the fandom thinks that Alia is bad because she has proof that Lila is a liar and still believes in Lila. She, however, does not have the proof that Lila is a liar. Therefore, the fandom thinking Alia is bad is misplaced. This is the train of logic. I do make a lot of assumptions for the fandom and lie about why they think Alia has proof, but I do not mention that, and my logic seems strong as a result. Secondly, my argument from Pathos was started before you even clicked on the video, with my title being Why You Were Wrong About Lila, or How Lila Lied to You, or something that implies this big reveal as well as me hinting in the intro to this big reveal. This is the other part of good rhetoric, setting up and knowing your audience. There are, in general, 3 types of audiences worth understanding. Friendly audiences, neutral audiences, and hostile audiences. Apparently there's also the disinterested audience, but they kind of lie in the same range as the neutral one. I remember hearing about just the 3 though when I was learning speech, but there might be more now if you go and look it up. There were 4 on the Thunderboard article I found succeeding 4 audience types. But that is not really the point here. The point is understanding how your audience feels about your arguments and what you are trying to prove. And then if they don't feel favorable towards your arguments, getting them to feel favorable towards your arguments. Think of this more as a scale than it is 3 types. Ideally, you should always be presenting to a friendly audience, or at least a receptive audience that is interested in hearing what you say and not opposing what you say. This is part of what makes Lila brilliant and scary. Her audiences are almost always set up to be friendly towards her. Lila from Volpino was trying to make sure that her general audience would always be favorable towards her. That is why she did things for people in that episode, and did very little for people outside of that episode. She gives Alia a good interview. She tells Nino she can get his script read, tells Milen and Rose that she has been helping Prince Ali and is protecting the environment. She structures her audience so they want her to be telling her the truth, and thus will not question what she says that much, if at all. There is one time, though, she does risk a bad audience, though. In Chameleon, Lila realizes that Marinette is against her, but does not realize why. Lila believes that it is simply because she is going after Adrian, someone Marinette clearly has been crushing over, and that is something Lila can fix. So she offers to help Marionette, only to learn...
Adrian.
You and I will only be friends the day you stop lying, Lila.
Upon learning that Marinette is never going to be friends with Lila the liar, Lila drops the tactic of being friendly and changes to being threatening. Marinette does in fact seem to be a pushover to Lila. From this scene we learn a lot about Lila, as she just states her methods out loud. She tells people what they want to hear and gets them friendly with her, makes them interested in proving that she is telling the truth. See, because you do not have to tell solid, bulletproof lies. You just have to make sure that they are lies your audience wants to believe. This is why the lie I presented, despite having a good ethos presented with well-constructed logos and gripping pathos, perhaps even, probably did not work so well for some of you. See, there's a strong community in the Miraculous fandom committed to disliking Lila's lies and thinking Alya is foolish for believing those lies. While some of them probably have seen episodes like Volpina and memorized them even, the ones who do not instantly have those episodes on recall would still not believe me, even if I was truthful with my statement that Lila never directly said that she was friends with Ladybug to Alya. Depending on how many views this video gets, there will certainly be one comment of someone out there saying, wait, no, Lila does tell Alya that she is close friends with Ladybug, you stupid person, you missed that. And there will probably be another comment saying that they were never fooled by my lie because they knew Lila must have told Alya that she was friends with Ladybug. There are two reasons why they would think this, even if they do not remember Volpina or Chameleon well enough to prove me wrong, to point out the scenes where, see, this is where Alya says that. The first being most relevant to our discussion is that they are quite hostile as an audience on this subject. They oppose any point that would present that Lila did not tell Alya her relationship with Ladybug, as they remembered it. And the second reason is because admitting to misremembering makes them look foolish, and they probably invested a lot into believing that Alya was unjustified in believing Lila over Marinette, so any proof presented would instantly be disavowed and disbelieved, or at least questioned. This is the 1-2 punch that keeps everyone enchanted by Lila, though. They want to believe her, and admitting they shouldn't believe her is a strong gut punch to their pride due to the fact that they have already put so much into believing that Lila is a good and kind person. Because of this, my lie was never going to work well, as there was no way I could convince an audience so invested in believing that Alya was in the wrong for believing Lila over Marinette, making my lie not really worth the demonstration. So I decided to lie again. That's right, I told a second lie. For starters, here's a little table I made regarding Alya and Lila's interaction with each other, as well as the amount of times Lila enforces or tells Alya that she is friends with Ladybug. On this table, we can see there are 21 episodes in which Lila plays a prominent role to the point of having spoken lines. I did not include any episodes in which she is just in the background or only mentioned. I also left out Revelation and all episodes after it, or the Kangami episodes, because she clearly does not talk to Alya in any of those episodes, nor is she strongly implied to have communicated with Alya in those episodes. So there are 21 episodes in which Lila plays a prominent role to the point of having spoken lines, in which only 7 times does she talk to, or is at least implied to talk to, Alya. Lila is in the same room as Alya 17 times in these episodes. Alya does spend some time talking to Lila, but not a lot, and she does not even talk to Lila in Chameleon when she brings the ultimatum to Marinette. By that point, the only solid time she talks or spends time with Lila was in Volpina. After Chameleon, though, things have clearly changed. She talks a lot more with Lila and has even shared her phone number with Lila, and by this point, they have gotten closer. On top of that, let's bring up what I mentioned about audiences and why a friendly audience has an invested interest in wanting to believe what the orator is saying. Look at the amount of times and closeness Alya has gotten with Lila since the statement to Marinette in Chameleon. We can see that she probably forgot the statement, if not intentionally, or it never would have become something she would want to or try to think about. For her part, I think Marinette by this point recognized the uncomfortableness that Lila causes, and decided not to press Alya too hard on this because it would probably hurt Alya to do so. Okay, but how did I lie then? The core to lying, well, is very simple. Tell part of the truth, but leave out the details that disagree with what you want to persuade your audience of. Make what you are telling them something they want to hear, and then project yourself as a figure of authority and use their emotional bias against them. This is what many people online do, knowingly or not, especially the leaving out points they already disagree with. This is how it is strongly believed that it makes no sense that Alya trusts Lila so much. They look at the scene from Volpina or the scene from Chameleon and go, got it, I've seen enough, and leave out an important piece of information from Time Taggers.
Monday, I hope you're not mad at me.
No, of course not. No biggie. A friend of mine said she'd take care of them, so Nino and I are going to see a movie.
A friend?
Yeah, don't worry. She'll take care of everything.
Perfect. Enjoy your movie then. See you later.
Okay, we're going.
Thanks again, Lila.
Do I know how to...
Ladybug. And multiplication.
Bug is young, Chloe. With all those responsibilities and powers, she was bound to make a few mistakes. We have to find the strength to forgive her. It shouldn't be a child's duty to fight Monarch.
It's true. It's usually my dad's job to stop bad guys. You're right, Lila. We can't let Ladybug down.
These scenes point to the fact that Alya has become friends with Lila, something greatly important to understanding why Alya does not want to believe or consider that Lila might be a liar and have nothing to do with her disliking or even distrusting Marinette. Despite this, it is almost never brought up that Alya is friends with Lila when people talk about Alya believing Lila, and that people do not like the idea that they might be friends with a liar. Therefore, it kind of makes sense that she does not want to hear that Lila is a liar. This tidbit of information is in contrast with the fandom's narrative of Alya, thus the people selling or saying that Alya is horrible for liking Lila tend to forget about this tidbit or never mention it, just like Alya does not mention what she says in Chameleon. Further, some might question then why Alya would become friends with Lila. To answer this, let's remember how Lila manipulates her audience into seeing the best in herself. How Lila wants people to think of herself as a sacrificial person trying to improve the world. Then let's consider one of the strongest ideals that Alya holds, the one that she introduces to the show herself.
All that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good people do nothing.
I think a better question would be, how could Alya not become friends with Lila? This leads to the great irony of the fandom, though, understanding Lila without understanding Lila. The fandom does not understand why so many people believe in Lila. They argue that other characters seem to get stupider around Lila, so they believe her. They imply or just say that they would never ever believe in someone like Lila. It is impossible for them to do so, and that is why it makes no sense that everyone else does. The irony being, they have already fell for everything Lila does. They are not immune to someone like Lila. They are her perfect prey. J. Henrich argues that rhetoric is largely a harmless activity, a way to maintain a democratic utopian ideal. This is not the case. Rhetoric, like any other tool, can be used to cause great harm to others. In an era of misinformation, in an era where everyone shares everything but only a few are heard by millions or even billions, the shaping of narrative and the lies told by the others and believed by more are worth considering. There is a necessity now more than ever to question what you believe, why you believe it, and who told you to believe it. But we also do that less than ever. As information travels so fast, we are not given the time to question anything and asked to never make the time to do so. While I would not say that Lila embodies this issue perfectly, I would say that she communicates this issue very well. We cannot question everything, and competent liars are not convincing because they say stuff that is logical, well-constructed, or even that cover their own asses. Liars are convincing because they tell lies we want to believe already, that we do not want to question. There is this belief that liars have to be smart to trick you, but they don't have to, and often are not that smart. The frustration of seeing people believe in liars does not show our own intelligence, but our own bias.
You thought you were doing the right thing. Just like with Chloe. That's another reason why I love you, Adrian. You always want to see the good in other people. But sometimes, the good we think we see in some people is just a reflection of our own, and we end up being fooled by our own kindness.
One of the most important lessons of Lila is how to deal with liars and the people they lie to. And the answer is, the problem is the liar, not their victims. That we should have compassion for people who are led by or taken in by liars' lies, not vilify them. And the fandom fails to understand or even show they want to understand this. They want to believe in their own beautiful lies, that the world is simple, that liars are obvious and easy to disbelieve, and that they would not believe in Lila. Alright, thank you for watching. I originally had another ending here planned, but I didn't like it and, well, couldn't really make it fit, I felt, well, so it's been cut out. I hope you enjoyed the video. The credits should be rolling over my face right now, giving you the information of what we were watching, or giving the information of the people whose work I used for what I made here for the video. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a little bit of something, maybe about rhetoric and how it's used in life. By the way, it was water.